I just want to make this clear before the video starts so I don't get branded. And so this video isn't about like stans who are fan artists or respectful people. This is about toxic assholes who force their beliefs onto other people, or will like cancel creators over jokes and misunderstandings, or they'll refuse to admit when they are wrong and they'll make excuses and lie. Anyways, enjoy the video. In 1820, the estimated world literacy rate was just a mere 12%. This was an era where the Industrial Revolution was at its peak, many powerful countries were mass colonizing the world, and the slave trade was as rampant and brutal as it has been since 1451? Anyways, I'm starting off the video with this year for the purpose of mentioning the literacy rate. Though technology was only now starting to improve with this era, with communication still taking multiple days, if not weeks, to reach long distances, it has since been estimated that only about 12% of the people who existed in the world had the ability to read and write. Jumping ahead almost 200 years, the estimate for 2015 increased to 86%, with a 4% increase for every 5 years since 1960. Using this logic, we can make an educated guess that 90% of the world has the ability to read and write in 2020, with this rate being over 99% in developed nations. Though the former statistic represents the entirety of the population better, the latter statistic is much more useful when talking about cases involving social media and reading comprehension. Our topic for today's video is Calvin, who replaces the vowels with the letter X in his username. Calvin is known for being one of the best 1.8 PvP players, but I simultaneously find him interesting for a separate reason. His fan base is very small for a modern Minecraft YouTuber, yet the vocal people within are extremely toxic. Unlike other creators, Calvin isn't scared of voicing his true opinions, and will gladly do so rather than bowing down to people who think they can control him. He's also no stranger to controversy, from exposing cheaters in-game for using hack clients to real-world issues like being false flagged, doxed, and even framed for bomb threats. I'm not joking about this. Therefore, upon seeing that groups of teenagers and even children accused him of being disablist or transphobic, he remained calm and fought the claims head-on rather than forcing himself to concede towards people he doesn't want around anyways. Calvin himself has addressed the claims of disableism in a video criticizing Stan's Twitter, which I will link on the screen considering that his word will have far more insight than mine, being the victim. On November 27th, 2020, Jamal from Mindmen, a group that Calvin is also in, dropped a hot take on his Twitter account, tweeting, "How are you a they, he, she? Just pick a gender. Lol," where he would quickly be ratioed by Calvin, replying with, "Streets ain't gone like this one." For obvious reasons, many people got upset at Jamal for this tweet, regardless of how it was interpreted, yet the stans also decided to target Calvin. Groups of these people would start to reply to Calvin or quote retweet him with insults or criticism for him supposedly being transphobic, when this wasn't the case at all. But why was this? What caused them to somehow interpret the exact opposite of his intentions? I believe that Calvin was cancelled by stans not because of transphobic intentions, but rather a reading comprehension error. Let me be clear. I'm not trying to discredit people with actual reading disabilities like dyslexia. These are people who experience daily struggle and stress from a real problem. I looked into how it works, but I'm not going to speak much further on the topic as I haven't experienced it firsthand, so I have a very limited understanding, especially considering how much conflicting information is out there about it. According to varying statistics, I found that somewhere between 3 to 7% or 5 to 20% of people experience this issue, but this doesn't explain the remaining 80% of people. One thing common when stans are called out or criticized is for them to use a mental deficiency, today referred to as a neurodivergency, as one of many excuses or crutches to prevent themselves from taking any blames for their mistakes. Again, the goal here isn't to discredit anyone for something they can't control. This is about finding the root cause of a situation and many alike it. As someone diagnosed with ASD, I can verify who is and isn't telling the truth using first-hand experience. One thing I personally tend to notice is that there are two ways a child is raised following being diagnosed with a neurodivergency. On one hand, you have parents who put in the time and effort towards raising the kid, getting services and therapist sessions so the child has time to adapt and discuss their experiences. Over time, said person will grow and improve and will be able to work around the obstacles and blend in with a typical person in society. However, if the parent decides to essentially give up in some way upon seeing the diagnosis, this results in an individual who is unable to properly function in the real world being able to seek shelter online in today's environment. Though this may seem good, history has shown time and time again that this can actually lead to far worse than expected results, with very little chance of escape. The people within the latter group tend to have the expectation that everything is accommodated toward or given to them in life, when in the real world this is not the case at all. Therefore, when standing a creator, stans tend to think for themselves first, which leads to contention between the creator and themselves as a result. The problem isn't that the person has an issue as a result of a neurodivergency, it's the refusal to work around it, instead choosing to falsely accuse people of being disabled for not using what's referred to as a tone indicator. Here's an example of a joking tweet. Though a small portion of people may not understand it's a joke, forcing it to be ruined for everyone else will not fix the issue at hand, but will instead cause more issues, dividing the fanbase of a creator and making it look toxic. Rather, the better option is to let the creator operate their accounts how they want to, as there's a reason you're following them. With this knowledge, let's look at activity from Calvin and others involved from after he made that reply. Calvin would quickly jump up to correct people accusing him of being transphobic when he was actually, get this, agreeing with them. Rather than admit to being wrong, the stans would instead decide to blame him for supposedly not phrasing it correctly or not using tone indicators to specify he doesn't like the tweet he is replying to. Unsurprisingly, stans bring up irrelevant past drama and falsely claim that they were doxxed as a result of the creator calling them out, showing no proof when asked to. Why they keep using the same tactics is beyond me. I learned how to become an independent person far before these people learned what Minecraft is. Speaking of independent thought, nobody is allowed to have a conflicting opinion within their community, leaving you to be blocked, shunned, or bullied if you disagree about a creator's actions. Seems pretty hypocritical to me. With the situation at hand occurring, Calvin decides to stream himself getting cancelled live, browsing quote retweets and even calling his mom to tell her about it for a bit. Here, there's clear evidence that stans will literally tell you to end your life over Twitter beef. Think about that. The fact that an individual legitimately believes that this is a good idea shows that their personal issues go a lot deeper than a misguided interpretation of a tweet. The fact is that nobody is required to cater to you in this world. Basic society expects you to be independent enough to survive on your own. Knowing these stans spend their entire day on Twitter or watching creators, even skipping online classes to do so, yet will likely excuse themselves from watching this video on the basis of not having enough time really shows how obsessed they are. In conclusion, it can be determined that Calvin is unable to win as a result of circumstances out of his control. Piecing everything together, it's clear that he loses whether or not he supports transgender people, of whom he does. If people don't understand his view, he loses. If he corrects them, he's an asshole and therefore he loses. Within the tweet I'm reading from, he asks, "How do I win?" which is far more intriguing and deep question than it may seem. The removal of stans is a difficult process and takes lots of time and effort. Whether this is achievable without almost quitting Minecraft is unclear, though it is clear that less stans will come back the more you go against them. Relevancy is another factor important to this, as most stans have finally moved on from SMP Live almost a year after it ended. Knowing this, I hope Calvin will be able to figure out how to navigate situations like this one in the future and can maybe even get rid of the people from this group that hate him so much.
Hey, you see this guy? Yo. Not as bad as you think he is, right? This guy, not that bad.